This is actually terrifying. I'm telling you this story because I know that some of us have trouble sleeping at night. Some of us need a little bit of horror to get in the mood. And for those who want to sleep, don't listen to this one. We made sure all of the windows were closed and locked, because there was no way someone could have snuck in without us hearing them. The Ross seemed pretty skeptical, but said that he would check the security tapes. I know that if something like that happened to me, I would probably freak out and run out of the dorm, call my mom, call the police, call everyone. I wouldn't stay there. But then again, I live in a big city and maybe things are a little more dangerous where you live. It was about 4 a.m., and I was working the graveyard shift as a security guard in a large high school. I rolled down the window slightly, and I distinctly heard footsteps running around on top of my car. But as I got closer to my car, I noticed small pebbles that were now on the roof of my car. I feel like the scariest part about this story is that he literally spent hours sitting in his car, thinking that it was just kids messing around, when clearly it was something else. I mean, can you imagine if a killer was running around on top of your car? You couldn't see them, but you could hear them. And then they're getting angrier and angrier, and they start banging on your window. What would you do? I think I would have driven away a long time ago. I understand that he wanted to make sure that everything was okay, but I feel like it wasn't worth risking his life. I mean, come on. But then again, I would probably do the same thing. I'm a chicken shit. I don't like being outside by myself in the dark, especially when I know that there's something out there that I can't see. These were not there before. I walked around my car in circles, inspecting the roof. All of the pebbles were in a line as if someone, or something, was running across the roof. I was freaked out. I ran to my car, jumped inside, and locked the doors. I called the police just in case, but they said they would only come out if I could provide them with more information than I'm scared, so I canceled that request. I sat in my car for a couple more hours until my shift ended and I left. To this day, I have no idea what it was. I started to panic and quickly rolled up my window, locking myself inside. I drove around the block slowly, expecting to see a group of kids messing around, but I saw no one. Or would you just sit there and hope that it goes away? Let me know your thoughts below. Also, if you've ever seen a ghost, let me know. I've never seen one in person, but I do believe that they're out there. One time I was taking a picture of my friends and family at my brother's gravesite, and when we developed the pictures, there was this one picture where you could see the distinct shadow of a woman in a Victorian nightgown behind my dad. That was crazy. I continued my rounds, checking all the buildings, offices, etc. were all secure and no signs of entry anywhere. I even checked the library, which has motion sensor lights that would definitely have turned on if anyone entered. Everything was fine. My job mainly consisted of driving around the block every half hour, 2 hourly, depending on the time of month, checking all the doors were locked. Tedder. On this particular night, I had finished my rounds and was sitting in my car in the parking lot writing up paperwork. I had the window rolled down and suddenly I heard a loud bang on the roof of my car. I immediately slammed the window back up and looked around. There was nothing there and nothing anywhere near my car.
I assumed it must have been a branch or something and went back to my paperwork.
Yeah, but dude, you gotta admit that's a pretty spooky story. I can just imagine how scary it would be to hear those chains dragging and then the footsteps coming closer and closer. I would be so freaked out. The fact that the door was being knocked on too. Yeah, that would really put me over the edge. Later that day, my roommate and I were chilling in our room when the Ra knocked on our door. I mean, do you think there's a ghost in that dorm? Do you think that this person made the whole thing up? Let me know your thoughts below. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We post new videos every single day, and I would love for you to be a part of the community. He told us that the security footage showed nothing, and he apologized for wasting our time. He also said that if anything weird happens again, we should definitely let him know. A few days after that, I was home for the weekend, and my roommate was left alone in the dorm. During the middle of the night, he heard chains dragging again, followed by heavy footsteps. The same moans from before could be heard. My roommate started screaming for help. The resident assistant came running over and let him stay in his room while he called campus security. They found nothing. But after that incident, my roommate and I were never left alone in that dorm ever again. We didn't want to call the cops because we both thought that would look pretty stupid on our records. So we decided to stay up all night and wait to see what would happen. Sometime during the early hours of the morning, I started to doze off again. Then I started hearing chains dragging metal moans. My roommate and I immediately sat up in bed and listened. There were heavy footsteps dragging themselves closer to our room. The sound of chains dragging came to a halt outside of our door. We started to hear light tapping sounds, like someone knocking on the door with their knuckles. My roommate and I started yelling and making tons of noise. The tapping stopped, and we never saw anyone or anything. It comes from a Reddit user. My friend and I were staying up late one night in our university dorm. We decided to try and spook each other. I was lying in my bed with my eyes closed, trying to imagine something scary, when I heard a knock, knock, knock. I immediately opened my eyes and looked around me. There was no one there. My roommate was sitting on his bed reading a book, and he had an innocent look on his face. I thought maybe it was just my imagination, so I lay back down and closed my eyes. About 30 seconds later, knock, knock, knock again. I shot up in bed and looked around again. Still no one. We started to get a little freaked out, and we decided to turn on all of the lights. The next morning after, of course, not sleeping at all, we decided to go downstairs to tell the Raw what happened. Holy shit. Okay, first of all, I'm very sorry that you had to experience that. Now, normally I don't believe in ghosts, spirits, or any of that stuff, but sometimes these stories are so well written that I start to question everything. Moving on to our next Reddit story. This one comes from another Reddit user. About 5 minutes later, I heard another loud bang, this time followed by several smaller ones. As I made my way back to my car, I began to calm down. I figured it was just some kids messing around. Okay, that one was creepy. But then again, if it really was a killer, what would you do? Would you run away? Would you fight back? Would you try to reason with them? So, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.